Hello, welcome back to the podcast. This week's episode is similar to last episode in that I can't believe I've not done a single solo episode on this. I'm pretty sure I've not. You could prove me wrong if you want to have a scroll back through the 200 and odd episodes, but I'm pretty sure I've never done a episode that's going into the different phases of the cycle and how to support them in the phases. I did have a free download on my website for a long time, which I've since taken down, and I feel like this is gonna replace the need for that. So make some notes if you are someone who is wanting to have your hormones work for you, not against you throughout your monthly cycle, because I never thought that I'd say it, but having my period and having a menstrual cycle now is one of the best things that has ever happened to me. And it's a time of the month that I actually look forward to because in previous years, I've had my periods go MIA after over exercising, under eating, and then I was on the birth control pill for 2 years, and that made me feel completely disconnected from my body, my intuition. It messed up my health and my hormones in a lot of ways. And then after stopping that on my 21st birthday, a little gift to myself, I then didn't have a period for 2 years and I did everything in my power to try and get it back. And I've never felt less feminine and less healthy during that time because your period is your monthly report card. So if it's completely missing, that's telling me that your brain and your body doesn't feel safe enough to be fertile. And that isn't that your body's broken, it is that your body doesn't feel nourished enough and doesn't feel safe enough. And it's actually doing it as a protective thing, a protective mechanism. So rather than thinking that your body's failed you, I've had clients even be diagnosed with premature ovarian failure in their 30s because they've come off the pill and not had a period for 7, 8 years and been able to regain it. I actually had a podcast episode with my client Catherine who went through that and she got her period back and it's been regular ever since, and that's only supported her health in so many ways because having a period and ovulating, and an ovulation really is the goal because you can actually have a bleed, a period without ovulating, but you can't ovulate without then having a period or being pregnant. It doesn't work the other way around. So the goal is to ovulate strongly every single month, whether you want kids never, now, or in the future. It is such a sign of health and also a creator of health too. So in this episode, I want to share some little tips and tricks that you can use to support your body in the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle. Because I just used to think, well, I didn't really know actually what was going on in my body. When you're on the pill or when you don't have a cycle, your hormones are pretty kind of stable and flatline, not in a great way, but it'll be similar to a man's cycle in that it's just the same every single day. They typically get a spike in testosterone first thing in the morning. They can eat the same, work out the same, hustle the same every single day, and then that's how the 9 to 5 work day was actually created as well to honor men's cycles. They're on more of a 24-hour cycle, whereas women are on around a 28-day cycle, which also syncs up with the moon, 29.5-day lunar cycle. Some women have the bleed with the full moon or the new moon and ovulate with the full moon or vice versa. If you're not on any hormonal birth control, you might find that it syncs up with the moon. If you live or work with other women, you might find that it syncs up with them as well. It's just really fascinating. It is governed by our body clock, our circadian rhythm. So working on that is a big piece. If you're just never getting outside, if you are just sat behind blue light from your screens and devices all day long and you're not getting good sleep, your hormones are likely pretty messed up at the moment. So your monthly bleed or the lack of ovulation or really long cycles or really short painful cycles, these are all clues that something is going on in your body. And instead of just going on the birth control pill or trying to just balance your hormones with herbal medicine, you actually want to figure out what is going on, get to the root of it, because you could take something that boosts your progesterone. You could even take bioidentical progesterone supplements or creams. But if you haven't fixed the root, it's just a natural band-aid solution. So I believe a healthy body is a fertile body. And if you're not in menopause, which typically happens around the age of 51 on average these days, then you're still fertile. Up until you go into menopause, you're technically still fertile. But we're told that your fertility rate drops off a cliff at age 35 and you're basically doomed. And I've worked with so many people who have even been down the IVF route. They've been trying for years, they're doing all the things, but then we start working together, and within a year or two, they're pregnant, they're on their second pregnancy, they're in their 40s now, they're thriving, and simple things sometimes have been missed. A low thyroid function, a big mineral deficiency, a calcium shell, a parasite infection in the gut, a gluten sensitivity. These things were holding them back despite eating clean and taking their supplements, taking their folate. It's just not enough a lot of the time. So use your cycles and keep a track of your cycles as well, because if you do end up needing to see your doctor for something, or you are prepping for pregnancy, you kind of want to know how long your cycles are. If you're just leaving it, I don't know anyone, well, I think maybe just not in my circle. Is there anyone still out there who just has no idea when their cycle's due or isn't tracking their cycle? Do those people exist? Please let me know. If that's you, I'd love to chat with you and just see what's going on in your mind, because there's so many things that you could get out of just knowing when you're going to be ovulating and when your period's due. You can start to plan things. It's not always going to be exact dates. Sometimes you plan something in your cycles a little bit later that month, and you at least you tried. But if you can schedule a holiday when you're not bleeding, you're obviously going to enjoy it a little bit more and feel more comfortable. You're naturally more social and energized during ovulation. So if you've got like a big plan coming up, if you can schedule it around your ovulation follicular phase, I'll get into these in more detail, don't worry if you're like, what the hell is that? Then it's just being smart and understanding that women's bodies are different. We're not going to feel the same day to day, especially week to week. And we can split our average 28-day cycle, but just know that these dates can range. Some people have a 21 or 23-day cycle. They've always had that. They have a 2-day bleed that's quite light and short, and they don't have any other symptoms, and that is healthy for them. And then on the other side, someone might have a 35-day cycle and they have a 6-day bleed and they feel really good, no PMS, and that's normal for them. The issue is when it's chopping and changing, or when you have lots of PMS accompanying it and period pains, and 1 month is really heavy, 1 month it's really light, 1 month it's 23 days, then 35, and then 28, and it's just unpredictable. But anything shorter than that, anything longer than 35 days is a bit of a problem, and it's probably a sign that something is going on. So start to track and pay attention. Something like an Oura Ring or the Flow app are good places to start if you're new to this. And we're going to start off with the technically first phase of the cycle. And these two phases merge into one. So the first day of your bleed, the first day of your period is cycle day 1. So if your doctor's ever asking how long your cycle is, it doesn't mean the length of your period. It means the start of your period to the very next period. How many days is that? An average is around 28 days. I used to think that my normal was 33 to 35, but actually my normal is around 28 to 30 now, because just doing some more advanced work on my gut and my minerals and my thyroid, it was actually a lot shorter, and that this is actually normal. So I thought, because it was regular for me, it was normal. So just bear that in mind. What you think is normal now might shift and change. So not just getting too tied into, I have 35-day cycles, and then starting to worry when they shorten. That could actually be a positive thing for you. Or you might go from having a 6-day pretty heavy bleed or pretty light bleed to a 3-day heavier bleed. That isn't necessarily bad. It could just be that your body is now getting the same blood out in a shorter amount of time. I would actually see that as a win. As always, if you're ever concerned about your symptoms, please speak to your doctor or your healthcare practitioner. They'll be able to give you much more guidance. But today's episode is really sharing a bit of an overview what's happening internally at the different phases of the cycle. I like to relate to them as seasons of the year. Just makes it a little bit easier to understand. But if you're ever concerned or you have any symptoms that are new, then please, reach out to someone for some help. So the first day of your period, cycle day 1, is your menstrual phase, your period phase, your bleed. This is like your winter, your inner winter. But it is also technically the start of the follicular phase. So this is how it gets a little bit confusing. But I like to split it into 4 phases rather than 3 and just have the menstrual and follicular the same. It just separates it a little bit more. So the menstrual phase, imagine that as being winter, and your hormones are at the lowest point. This is when the hormones have dropped. You weren't pregnant that month. Your hormones levels have dropped to the lowest point. This is completely normal and natural. That triggers the release of the uterine lining as a bleed. And because hormones are the lowest, think of winter, your energy is going to be a little bit lower, things are a bit slower, things are a bit colder. So in Chinese medicine, they focus on nourishment, on warmth. Even if it's summer, just adapt it as much as you can, but you still don't want to really be doing icy drink, cold raw salads at that time of the month, because your body just needs some extra nourishment and warmth. So the best things here food-wise are nice ginger teas. You can just do warm or hot drinks or just room temperature water. No cold icy drinks or smoothies or juices if possible. Red meat, animal protein, maybe some soups and stews and a nice curry or something just to warm your internal organs. You might want to do something like a castor oil pack or hot water bottle, an Epsom salt bath, just resting and relaxing a little bit more. You might find that your social battery is lower and you just want to have an early night or sit and watch Gilmore Girls for the 50th time on your own. You might be a little bit more hungry during this time too, and this is expected. But if it's extreme and if you have pain with your period, I'm not talking about a little dull sensation or a little bit of a cramp here and there. I'm talking about pain. You need painkillers. It's heavy, it's clotted. You feel like really low and depressed. This isn't normal. This is an extreme version of the slight introvert withdrawal phase and sleepiness that you could be going through. And an average period, healthy period, should last around 3 to 6 days. If it's a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, and it's normal for you, maybe no issues there. But you only really lose around 3 tablespoons of blood. I know it's hard to measure if you don't have a menstrual cup or you're using tampons and pads, but if it seems excessive, you're bleeding through your sanitary towels and you're bleeding through your clothes and have to change every hour, that is also not normal, and could be a sign of estrogen dominance, thyroid issues. So working with someone to rectify that is completely possible, and it's actually important and recommended that you do so, because it's you losing excess blood and having this warning sign from your body that something's going on. And there's probably not just that going on either. It's could be that there's other symptoms throughout the rest of the month, and this is just a little flashing light, a little red flag to pay attention to. So please listen to your symptoms. This is how your body communicates with you. It doesn't speak English, it communicates through symptoms. And it's not normal, it's common, but we are told this is the monthly curse. She's on the rag, it's the horrible time and you're going to feel awful and you're just going to want to binge eat ice cream. This is also just a generational like belief system that's been passed down, and that's also wrong, and that's why I'm putting the information like this out there. I used to have painful periods and lots of PMS, and now I don't, so it is possible to heal. If I can, you can too. I just want to check, are you addressing the healing foundations? Not sure what I mean? Well, these are the important factors that I believe that you need to address in order to be in optimal health and overcome your stubborn health issues and symptoms, whether that's chronic digestive issues, acne, hair loss, period problems, weight gain, anxiety, fatigue. I could go on. Because I want as many of you as possible to have this life-changing information, I've bundled together 6 of my juiciest and info-packed masterclasses priced at just £111. Not only are you getting these recordings, which are between 60 and 90 minutes long each, on the following subjects: the power of the subconscious mind, stress, trauma, and the nervous system, supporting your female menstrual cycle, mastering your metabolism, optimizing sleep, gut health and detox, You're also going to receive my healthy groceries shopping list and my favorite non-toxic products guide, which are both usually reserved for my one-to-one clients. Whether you're brand new to the holistic healing world or you've been trying to work on things for a while but feel stuck, I can guarantee there's something within this content that will help you to understand your next steps and what you're missing. Sometimes it's something so foundational that's being overlooked. Get instant access to the Foundations bundle today for just £111 by clicking the link in the episode show notes, and I can't wait to hear about what you've learned. Grab your pen and paper to make notes and get started today. After the menstrual phase or the winter, we head into spring, and this would be the follicular phase. But again, technically the period is your follicular phase also, but we'll give it its own little phase as well when you've stopped bleeding. At this point, your cervical mucus, your discharge will start to pick up as well as estrogen rises. So the discharge helps to clean the vaginal canal, and it changes in result of your estrogen levels. So it can go from being pretty dry to maybe like a hand lotion texture. Your energy will probably start to increase as well. For some women, this is the only time of the month where they feel good. And that is also not normal. We shouldn't feel like a different person 2 weeks out of the whole month. It's just unnecessary suffering. So in the spring phase, we can have more energy, we might feel more social. Some people feel great, their skin clears up, they feel like they can get back to the gym, they're more productive at work, they feel like they want to hang out with their friends, go to a gym class. And because estrogen is rising, you can push it a little bit more. Everyone is at their own stage of health. So if you're really struggling with your health at the moment, you don't necessarily have to be pushing yourself more. Just this is for someone who feels like they can and they want to, and it feels good doing that. But your tolerance for stress and exercise is higher during this time. And food-wise, you just really want to be focusing on blood sugar regulation. So nothing too specific at this point. Some coaches say eat lighter, cleaner foods during this point, like fish and leafy greens, like of course, but if you also want a piece of steak and a warm soup, you can do so. The main times are the luteal and the menstrual, the autumn winter, that you just do want to eat more warming, nourishing foods. The rest of the month you can eat warming foods if you like, but you can also tolerate the colder, cooler foods a little bit more at this point. So if you want a nice big salad, try and aim it around the spring or summer phase, follicular or ovulation. So moving into ovulation, the summertime, this is when your hormones reach their peak. And it's important to clarify that the first half of the menstrual cycle, so the first 14 days or so, is technically you're meant to be estrogen dominant during that time. That is normal, that is healthy. It's actually the second half of the cycle, past ovulation, up until your next bleed, you should naturally be more progesterone dominant. And a lot of issues during that time, the PMS phase and period problems, come from being continuing to be estrogen dominant in the second half of the cycle, and you're not having that progesterone to offset the negative effects of estrogen. But we'll come on to that in a little bit. Let's continue with ovulation. This is springtime, this is summertime. Hormones are at their peak, and because of that, it can go either way. Some people feel amazing, they feel really sexy and attractive and social, and they are doing their best PRs at the gym. They just feel like they're on top of it with their work. Their skin's clear, they have a high libido, they're going on dates, they feel really good about themselves. And for most women, this ovulation happens mid-cycle. So with a typical 28-day cycle, it might be anywhere from day 10 to day 18, but everyone is different and you don't always ovulate on the same day every single month. It can fluctuate and change. It shouldn't be all over the place, but don't rely on you ovulating every single week, every single month on day 15, because a lot of factors can shift that. And if you're using your cycle tracking to promote and help with conceiving or avoid conceiving, contraception, then you really want to be aware of this ovulation phase. And it is a window of time, and the the cervical mucus is also something that you want to pay attention to. It goes from being more creamy and hand lotion-like to what's known as fertile mucus or raw egg white mucus. So it looks slippery, stretchy, clear, like a gel-like consistency. You should be able to like stretch it between your fingers. You don't have to, but it's a very unique texture. And this is actually a good thing. This is what for fertility helps to capture the sperm and keep it in the cervix for when sperm comes around ovulation and can penetrate and conceive the egg. So if you are tracking your cycle, then you can use tools like your temperature and your cervical mucus discharge to track that. But I've done different episodes on that as well. And what else do I want to say about ovulation? The female body is technically only fertile for 24 to 48 hours. That's when the egg is released. So we get this spike of hormones that triggers the release of an egg from an ovary, and then that egg is only present for 24 to 48 hours. It's waiting in the fallopian tubes. But the fertile window is extended for around 5 days because it's the sperm that can live within the body. So in total, about 7 days of the month, you're fertile. So that is a little overview of fertility awareness method. There's much more that goes into it, and tracking and everything is necessary. But around after ovulation, the hormone levels change a little bit. We then start producing progesterone, and this is due to the leftover sac from the egg. So the leftover sac is called the corpus luteum, and this for the rest of the cycle starts to produce progesterone. And then in that window, in that luteal phase, if there hasn't been conception that's happened, it would then go into the next cycle, and you start your bleed, your hormones drop. But then if conception has happened, you would then go from your regular luteal phase straight into pregnancy, and the corpus luteum would continue producing progesterone for the next 12 weeks, the first trimester, before the placenta takes over. So that's just a little science lesson for you. Let's head into the autumn phase, the luteal phase, which is actually the longest of all of them. This is from anywhere straight after ovulation till your next bleed. So it could be from ideally minimum 10 days, because we want progesterone to be around for minimum 10 days for some health benefits. Ideally is 12 to 14 days. The maximum amount of time is 16 days before the corpus luteum just kind of shrivels up and dies if conception hasn't happened. In the luteal phase, it might also feel like that's split into two because it's such a long phase. The first part of it might feel more like ovulation, more energy, you're still feeling really good. But then in the second half of the luteal phase, it might feel like more winter and menstrual, where energy is dipping a little bit. You do become a bit more sensitive to stress, a little bit more insulin resistant. The body doesn't know if it's pregnant at this point. So just dialing back on the workouts a little bit. You don't have to lay on your couch and do nothing. If you actually feel like I've slept great, I feel great, I need to get my training in, please do so. But if you are struggling with your hormones and your health, and then maybe just backing off and doing more walking, Pilates, more gentle strength training with more rest, shorter sessions. So this is how women can really support their bodies, just not being in this masculine, controlled, I need to do this workout plan every single day, even if I feel awful and my period's due. That's not great, and that's how we are very different to men. And actually honoring your body and supporting your hormones and respecting that will probably mean, yes, you're not pushing it at the gym, but you're reducing your risk of injury. And then at a different point of your cycle, because you honored your need for rest, your performance is so much better, and you have a healthier cycle the rest of the month versus pushing through and then injuring yourself or wrecking your hormones and then having terrible PMS and a painful period, and then you can't train at all. So it's actually working for you. And in the autumn phase, the luteal, it could be very similar in that last few days to the menstrual, where you just feel more intuitive, and women just feel really connected a lot of the time. And it's worth reflecting on the month and just focus less on doing, more on being. I know this is easier said than done for some things, but if you do have control over the types of tasks that you can do within your work, maybe asking for a bit more help, maybe planning your social calendar in the other weeks of the month if you know that this is a challenging time for you. But if it is a challenging time, it can be improved. It can be worked on. We can feel different, and that's okay. It's not going to be summer all month long, just like in the seasons. We expect seasons, and we're okay with that. But when it's our own body, we get angry when it's not just like go, go, go all the time. But learning to slow down a little bit has been very healing for me personally. And I would recommend just looking into it, trying some little tweaks, and see how you get on. Bearing in mind, it does take around 3 cycles for any changes that you're making to have an effect, because this is affecting the follicle that is being developed and will only be released in about 100 days' time. And cycle syncing, if you want to call it that, has completely changed my life. I love talking about it. I've been interviewed on different podcasts. I was interviewed on the CNN podcast recently. I don't know if that episode has been released, but you can check out the podcast. That's the college that I studied with in 2014. And then also on the Gutology podcast, I think I talked a little bit more about cycle syncing and mold and all sorts of things on there. So check out the Gutology podcast. It's a big 90-minute episode, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. After the just to summarize and just end off this point, after the autumn, I'm guessing you understand that it goes into winter and the cycle starts again. And the number one goal of the menstrual cycle is fertility. Even if you don't want that, that is what your brain and your body is thinking. So anything that you can do to tell your brain and your body and your nervous system that you're safe, you're nourished. This is why under eating and high stress are going to mess with your cycles. And anything that you can do to boost your progesterone in that second half of the cycle is likely going to be the antidote to PMS and all of these stubborn symptoms that you're having: skin breakouts, water retention, your breast really sore and growth-free sizes before your period, your sugar cravings. It likely is an estrogen to progesterone imbalance. And managing your stress in all of the different ways. Stress isn't just emotional, it is physical, unstable blood sugar, lack of sleep, poor gut health. That is also stressful on the body. So if we can look at the body as a whole and not just try to take a progesterone supplement or something to micro manage your hormones. The hormone imbalances come as a symptom and there's a deeper problem at play. It's not just the hormones that go out of whack and try and ruin your life. They are responding to other things going out of whack. So a skilled practitioner is going to help you figure that out. I would love to be that person for you. I have spaces open at the moment for the last part of the year. I announced this on my Instagram, but not yet on the podcast, that in 2026, so after December, after the Christmas break, my offer suite is going to look a little bit different, and the 6-month coaching program is likely no longer going to be available. I will announce all of the changes coming very soon. But for now, if you've been on the fence, if you've been interested in coaching from me, this is potentially your last chance to get access to a 6-month coaching container. And that is the perfect amount of time for you to really see improvements because of that 3-month minimum time period that you need for hormone balancing. That'll allow us to go deeper into the gut healing, the mineral balancing, the progesterone support, and it comes with a HTMA as standard. But in the month of November, I'm going to be announcing that I'm doing a Black Friday promotion like I did last year, where there's a complimentary GI map stool test too. So 2 functional lab tests, 6 months of coaching, one-to-one calls with me, personalized recommendations based on your unique life and goals. Just having someone with over 10 years of experience now, not just clinically, but personally. I live and breathe this stuff. I've had so many successes with clients and just healing my own body. I really know what is possible, and I would love to help you with that. Don't feel like you have to figure it out all on your own. invest in yourself, take this seriously because it is serious. If something was going on with your car, you wouldn't be DIYing it on YouTube and trying to like look at Reddit posts to figure it out. You would hire an expert who is going to save you ultimately time, money, and stress in the long run. So the details for the Restoring Energy program, aka reprogram, will be linked in the show notes, all the different details. But if I don't mention the Black Friday promo on the website just yet, it's because that'll come in November, but it is going to be available. If you want to book in a free enrollment call, that is also on the webpage too. And we'll discuss what is included, if it's a good fit for you, because I want to make sure it is the right package for you. And I hope you enjoyed the podcast episode. I will see you back here next week for another one.